thanks for joining us at Secular Sounds Community Radio for Milton Keynes, man. Appreciate it. I just want to start, would you be able to give people who are not familiar with who you are, would you be able to give an introduction as to who you are and what you do?
Functionally, I'm a rapper and spoken word artist and activist, I guess you'd say, from the U.S. and A, right in between Boston and New York, a little state called Rhode Island. Represent a crew called Strange Famous, and out here, a record label called Speech Development, which is run by Scroobius Pip.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Pip. He's coming down a week before you are in MK11.
That's right. He's going to be wearing a lizard mask and DJing.
So you mentioned your spoken word. That's what you're doing at Festival tomorrow, right?
Correct, yeah.
Are you looking forward to it? You prepped?
Yeah, it should be fun. That's what I've been doing all day. I've been like making sure I know these poems because I really don't think I can remember the last time I did a solely spoken word set, which is kind of fun. It's cool. It'll be a cool way to start things off at Festival, and then next week is when the full rap show begins, the proper tour.
I'm quite familiar with you making quite the ruckus on your gigs. Do you want to tell people about how your reputation precedes you?
Man, we just do ambitious things, and we bring big shows because there's a lot of acts out on the road, and I want to make sure that when people come to our show, they remember that for a very long time. So we put a lot into making sure that every show is new and that every show is dynamic and interesting. And we also undertake some like very ambitious stuff. The first time I headlined in England, we brought an 18-piece marching band, which opened and backed me. And then last time I headlined here, we had like a full like kind of rock band set up with a full drum kit and guitar and DJ. And this time we're just doing like a very tight kind of like party rockin' MC DJ set, which I've never done before. And I've been working with a DJ called Buddy Peace, who's from London, for years. And we've always talked about like wanting to make like a classic like Run DMC, Jazzy Jeff, Fresh Prince, Idea and Abilities type MC DJ thing. That's a very particular kind of rap dynamic, and it can be a really great show. And so we finally like have had the opportunity to work that out, and that's what we're doing this time through.
Well, that sounds amazing. So like Jazzy Jeff from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and stuff like that.
Yeah, DJ Jazzy Jeff. I mean, people know Will Smith now, but they might forget that like back in the day, that dude was a rapper, and when he first came on the scene, he opened for like Public Enemy and Run DMC on a big Def Jam tour back in the day. And yeah, that used to be the norm in hip hop. That used to be very much the norm. And it's a particular kind of set because it's a, like it's cool to experiment with other elements, but there is like a purity in rap that can be achieved when you've just got like a tight DJ who can mix and scratch, and an MC, who can go off, and yes, we've worked that out this time. I'm really excited about that.
So that's pretty cool because I kind of like old school hip hop more than today.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you're bringing that back.
Word.
So that kind of brings me on to my next question. Is all about how your major influences affect you in your shows. So you mentioned Jazzy Jeff, but I also heard you saying that The Diary by Scarface.
Yeah.
That album
that
influenced
made me want to be a rapper.
Yeah, so I was thinking, what else is going on, like influencing wise?
Well, man, I try to always be influenced and always be inspired by art and everything. It's not just other music. Particular to hip hop, I think maybe one of the things that drew me to rap and production was the moment that I realized that like through sampling, like every art was relevant to hip hop. Every genre of music was relevant to hip hop. Country western records had break beats. Heavy metal records, Celtic folk records might have. Hip hop was almost like an excuse to learn about music everywhere. And at this point I've really traveled through a lot of the world, dug for records, in a lot of the world, and I'm inspired by old stuff. I'm inspired by new stuff. I'm inspired by actors, painters, movies. I think it's part of like my job to seek out things that get me excited and make me want to create. So, um,
Yeah, no,
yeah,
that yeah, I'm kind of similar in the way like I have loads of influence from everywhere, which I agree with because I don't like people who kind of like solely focus on one person and try and replicate that person, if you know what I mean.
yeah, yeah.
So I was wondering, are you kind of similar? You just don't try and be someone else. You kind of use all these different influences to become someone within yourself, kind of, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's a process. Like when I first started out, I probably sounded a lot like whoever I was listening to at the time. Like
Mm,
when I first started rapping, I think I sounded a lot like Pharoah Monch because I was listening to a lot of Organized Confusion
that's not bad
around
though.
that time. But like over time, you just like if you have like a good editor in your brain, you can like hear it and go like, no, that's nah. Like you have to be able to. It's an important skill to be able to hear something you made and know that it's not good enough. And luckily, I had that.
You're like a
So
harsh
luckily,
critique of yourself.
yeah. Um, some of my peers are lacking that. Some of my peers think like every piece of crap they make is worth releasing to the public. But
Would you say Kanye West was one of those? Because I know, like, I've heard
no,
you in an
man, I
interview
love
say,
Kanye.
but in the beginning, I liked Kanye, but now,
I'm a big Kanye fan. Kanye is a dude that continually inspires me. For real. The Yeezus album was like, I played that. I like, if that was a tape, I would have wore that tape out. I played that album so much. And man, when I came over last year on the speech development tour,
mm,
all those dudes that I was touring with, they were kind of hating, and they were like, nah, this album is nah. I heard it once, like he's saying some gross sex stuff on it. And I was like, no, man, no. And I just made them listen to that. I played that record so much in the tour van last time that it was just like, it was a running joke about like the hurry up with my damn croissants and all that. Yeah, yeah, man. I mess with because Kanye, man. We could talk for a long time about Kanye, but
yeah,
Kanye, what excites me about Kanye, one thing that excites me about Kanye is that at his level of pop stardom, that dude doesn't need to push any envelope. He doesn't need,
mm,
he could just keep making the same record. And in fact, that would be the best formula for success, would be if he just kept making the same thing. And he never does. He's at a high level of pop stardom, and he's really trying to like move art forward. And he succeeds a lot of the time. I mean, and I'm not even mad at the dude's personality. All the things people get mad at Kanye about, I enjoy about Kanye. I enjoy Kanye fully.
no,
Why don't
that's.
you like Kanye?
Oh no, I'm more of a personality wise. It's the
Yeah,
arrogance, man. I can't get
but
over it.
personality wise, man, who can say? Who can
Yeah,
say like what you would be like
yeah,
if
I'd probably be crazy because I'm already looking at my own figures and I'm nowhere near that big. So,
yeah, I mean, it's funny, man. Like if you grew up in Chicago with as a black male with like a acute awareness of racism in America and your position in society in America, you hustled, you learned to make beats, you had the story that Kanye had, and suddenly you were the most at the highest level of public scrutiny and attention. Also, you have before you the history of Michael Jackson. Like you've seen what they did to Michael Jackson, or
yeah,
what I mean. So there's a high level of paranoia. There's a high level, but it's just funny, man. If you try and put yourself in that dude's shoes, sometimes I think I would be a lot like him in that position if I had come from where he came and was dealing with what he was dealing with. He talks sometimes and just I'm like, yeah, I know what you're saying. Beyonce did have the best video. Take that goddamn award out of that corny white girl's hand. I'm with you, Kanye. I'm with you.
no, that's cool. That's cool. You went there. You went there. Okay. All right. Right. So, well, I guess with the Kanye thing, what you were saying about being in Chicago, so he had that sign of motivation and drive and stuff to
Yeah,
say the things he wanted to say, and he wasn't going to take no for an answer, which I respect. That's cool.
yeah,
But then I'm going to say for you, it's like what motivates you and drives you to say like, look, this is what I want it to be. Because I know that you went to New York when you was 18 and you turned down Def Jam Records, which to me
yeah,
sounds nuts. The 18, they want to
yeah.
sign you, but yeah. So what gave you the drive? What keeps you driven and going?
Like I said, I stay inspired, and I always have been, and I've always had a sense of wanting to to make the what I make, the writing and the music that I make. Even, when I had that encounter with Def Jam, it was in like the post Eminem era, and they were very much like looking for the next Eminem.
Ah,
And
okay.
I just like I had this just one encounter. I moved to New York because all my favorite rappers came from New York, so I just I didn't understand how anything works. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to New York and just get discovered. I guess I'll just get on stage and do something, and that's sort of what happened. Like I got on stage and started performing the New Eurekan, and all of a sudden, like dudes from Def Jam were talking to me, and I was performing at this like private gallery event, and Russell Simmons was there, and all these like beautiful music industry people were there, and I was just like this bummy 18-year-old white kid who was actually I didn't even have a place to live at that time. I was like selling weed for money and just living out of my backpack.
Hustling
And
hard.
yeah, and I was like, I was in that room and I was just like, this is not, I can't even, initially it was just like, I can't do this. It was like, I can't, I'm too, I'm too weird. I'm too political. I'm too dark. I suddenly realized that like everything I wanted to make was the opposite of what commercial rap music was. And in order to get, to go through this avenue, I was just going to have to totally compromise myself. So at that point, I just was like, well, forget it then. I'll just make stuff, and I won't, make money off it. I started like making demos and just passing them out to people for free in like plastic cases with no covers on them. And I gave one to Sage Francis. And, that he's the dude that brought me on the road, showed me the tour circuit, introduced me to all these audiences, later introduced me to Pip and Dan Lassac, who did the same thing over here in the UK. And through that, I kind of came to find this other alternative where like I'm able to make exactly what I want, and there's an audience that wants to hear it and keeps me in business and and lets me just be me for a living. Like, but I don't know if it was a conscious choice. I mean, maybe it was a conscious choice and I just don't remember, but it felt more like just like inertia of like, this is who I am, and it's not who they're looking for. So there's got to be something else.
Yeah, no, I completely respect that. You kind of went for the your own independent thing. Like, it wasn't for you, so you did your own thing and you made it. So like,
Yeah,
that's it, guts, man. I respect you for that.
word up.
So well, let's go on to the album, Kill the Wolf. That's 5 years in the making.
Yeah,
Are you happy now it's out? Are you relieved, or are you
yeah,
more
I
stressed
am.
now?
I'm definitely relieved. I was for 5 years. I was like, I'm gonna die in the middle of making this album, and it's gonna come out in some like half baked form. So I'm pretty pumped that I got to live and see that it's out. Um, and yeah, I'm already like working on the next thing, but it's cool, man. It's very cool to like. Now I'm excited to tour with these songs because that's kind of the next step after 5 years of them like incubating in the studio. Now when I start to perform them, they become this whole other thing. And even especially with the Buddy Peace setup as we've done it, he there's all kinds of like kind of live on the fly remixes and stuff, and the songs are going to become something new, especially like with the crowd participation and people. I think have had it's been out since July 10th, so I think people will have had the time to learn the words a little bit. So I'm excited about that. Like I'm definitely excited about like sharing the songs with people now.
That's cool, man. So it's like going to be like a constant evolution through the tour. It's just going to change the album completely.
Yeah, because I think that always happens with every song that I consistently do live. Like the song just changes and changes and changes the longer you do it live because you change words, you change like you drop out certain words, you emphasize other words, and then like 5 years later you go back and like listen to my first album, and I'm like, oh wow, that's how that sounded on the record. Like I don't even remember what the record sounds like anymore because the song is just different now.
Do you think you'll do a live version of the album afterwards if it sounds good?
Yeah, I we last year when I brought the band out, we did a show in Liverpool, and they had like an audio desk there, and we filmed it with footage. I've got like